All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first of our 2025 Think Up Thursdays. And we really want to get this started out. I'm sure everyone's got their New Year's resolutions and everything ready to go. We are here in Dallas, Fort Worth for everyone that is watching, and it is snowing outside. So they have shut the entire state down and we have to stay inside. Don't go to the grocery store because everyone has bought everything already because it is a snow apocalypse when it happens to we're snow a half inch in Texas. So we're getting started, and as people come on to the call, we're just going to keep going. But today's conversation is going to be about just that conversations. How are you framing the conversation? How are you opening the conversation? So, and we've got a few people popping on right now. So, again, go ahead and get started. Michael, do you mind? Because this is really just your absolute wheelhouse on the conversation. And let me ask you, since it's Wednesday, how many appointments have you set this week so far?
I think it's Thursday, right?
Is it Thursday?
I think it is. Think of Thursdays.
Think of
Uh,
Thursdays, duh.
the holidays have had me off. Middle of the week feels like the weekend. Weekend feels like weekdays. So,
And it's snowing
um,
out. So,
yeah. So far this week, just in passing, because I have spent a lot of time with clients. Each of the last few days have been from about 9 in the morning till 7 or 8 in the evening, just with the same kind of client. So it's hard to get away. But in the time that I've been able to get away and sit there and focus for brief periods of time, I've scheduled, I believe, 4 new appointments. And it being Thursday, I think, it becomes repetitive, and a lot of what we're going to talk about becomes repetitive to the point that it becomes easy, that you're not having to think about it. And we'll talk about the importance of repetition, not just in your business life but in your personal life, to help you get better at these things to where it's just very natural and you understand when to kind of cut to the chase and schedule appointments. But when you do have conversations with people, it's very important that they know why you're talking to them, and that's what we're going to cover
yep.
today. And as long as that's clear, it should be very easy to transition to next
And,
steps.
and I think that we've given our team here that homework, and I almost feel like it's important since it's the first Think Up Thursday of the year. It's good to maybe give that homework to everyone else just to think about. And this is a two-part thing. And for us, it was, and this is not necessarily about framing conversations and how to have those conversations like we're going to talk about, but I think it's good at the beginning of the year to be thinking about the previous year and the year going forward. And the previous year was a tough year for a lot of people. And we have a lot of market issues, interest rate issues, a whole lot of objections that we just aren't used to, haven't been used to having in the past. And I've been in this business; it's going on my 14th year, and seeing 4 months of inventory is something that I've never seen in Dallas Fort Worth. So that's just really kind of crazy. But at the same time, and you may end the year going, man, we've done so much better in the past. So part of that homework for us has really just been some introspective thinking on, what can we give ourselves credit for last year? What did you do good? And for me, it's not only in my business life, but also in my personal life. What are some things that we can give yourself credit for in the relationships that you value? And I think that's an important thing to think about because you're giving yourself a little bit of grace, and that's a good thing. Going forward, what is the one thing in your business life, and you can throw personal life in there too, but what is that one thing in your business life that you need to focus on to help prevent and provoke fear and anxiety in your business? And for me, as a agent, I know that I need to call my past clients and my sphere of influence more consistently. And it's one of those things that I have started doing that. And let's say, okay, I'm correct now. It's Thursday, not Wednesday. But I will be making those calls today, and I've got to make up for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday because I didn't do it. So I'm already failing at something I know I need to be doing. Last week, I did a pretty good job. Since then, just calling past clients. And let's be honest, I've been very selective on who I've been calling. Am I putting my favorites at the front? Absolutely, I am. Because that's what I want to do. And so, but I have added 3 buy sales to my pipeline for the year, and two other listings and two other buys in 1 week of calling past clients. And I can tell you right now, I only called about 20 people. That's it. They say that in your phone, 6% of your contacts are going to transact. We did this exercise on Tuesday in our team meeting. Michael, you had 600 and something people in your phone. I have like 1,400. Half of them are probably real estate agents, so I could probably cut that in half. But it's interesting to do that when we talk about, hey, let's generate leads and let's do that and let's do this. Man, your phone could be the only thing you really need to be successful in picking up. So my one thing, and as an agent, is to get in there and do the work and be consistent, like you're saying. For my team, it's I need to get out there and I need to recruit more agents to the team. So I kind of have a two thing, but it's good homework. Anyway, Michael, go ahead, get us set up on what today's going to be about, and let's rock and roll. And look, anyone on this, whether Linda, Omar, anybody, if you want to put in the chat, you want to come off mute, you've got questions. This is an open conversation. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, I do want to be very conversational about this. Anytime that we've talked about this subject, we often get calls or not calls, but a lot of questions about where this material is coming from and how to refine it and how does it apply to certain situations. One question that I do get is kind of background and where some of this coaching and training comes from. So I think that anytime that you go and invest in yourself, whether it's going to a meeting, whether it's going to a call like this, you read a book, whatever it is, it's going to provide perspective on how to get better at your skill sets. It's, I think, best to take and piece the things that you like the best and the things that you think will work best for you and compile that all into one comprehensive way of approaching things. So some of the things that I talk about are very consistent with other teaching and other coaching across the country that you may be exposed to, but it's not strictly or solely that. And this is all based in experience. I worked in higher education sales for a really long time. And the thing about higher education as opposed to real estate is that when you talk to folks that are considering making the biggest financial purchase of their lives, there's a lot more time, and the life cycle of conversion is a little bit longer when you work in higher education sales. Things are expected to move forward within about 30 days. So I think some folks that work in real estate would hope that they could create some urgency without being excessively salesy. And there are ways to do that, because at the end of the day, anybody that you're having a real estate conversation with that shows some interest, they're looking to move forward at some point or another, whether they have it in their mind that this is something that they're thinking about, or they go onto a website and want to go and see a house. Whatever the case is, it's our job to get them from point A to point B and to give them really good advice and walk them through the process. And so if you can highlight certain things that will help them on their journey and build value and create value in yourself, there's going to be buy-in to the advice that you're giving to them. And as Brent mentioned, in the market, what we've seen are a lot of folks that are interested in potentially moving forward and are reluctant for one reason or the other. And I think a lot of that just has to do with not understanding how all of it works. The data suggests that about 46% of anybody that's going to be buying is a brand new first time home buyer. And most of them, if you talk to them, have never gotten any help from an agent other than just asking them beds, baths, square footage, and price point. And so, on top of that, you have a whole demographic of people that have bought a house before, but have never gone through the process of selling and buying another one. So it's reasonable to say that there's a greater than 50% chance that anybody that you talk to and have a real estate conversation with is going to need your help, that doesn't know how the whole process works. And even the folks that have been through it enough times still could use some refresher.
Can
And
I
so,
jump in there? Can I jump in,
yeah,
Michael? Because whenever I bought an investment property a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago, and the lender, I was asking him so many questions, and the lender said to me, and it's someone I've worked with a lot of times, so he was able to be a smart aleck with me. He said, "Hey, man, act like you've done this before." And so, coming from someone who a team that does hundreds of transactions a year, when I'm putting myself in it personally, it still had some anxiety in there. So we just don't know. We take it for granted what people are going through and the emotional attachment, even the people with experience. like us. We still go through it ourselves. So I think that's just an important thing to keep in mind because we can't look at it like a transaction. We've got to look at it like it really is. It's something that's really happening to somebody, and it's scary.
And, I've just to kind of give you some anecdotal evidence to what we're talking about. And I'm providing context because of what this call represents and every call through the rest of the month of January represents. And I'll get to that in just a moment. But the confidence in being able to convert appointments. I've got 2 text messages sitting in my inbox right now that I have to respond to. These came through yesterday, and I'm going to respond to them today. And we can sit here and talk about the importance of speed to lead and speed to response and things like that. But one person actually texts me that says, I'm not actually ready to pull the trigger on buying a house yet, but I am looking for a more modern 2 to 3, maybe 4 bedroom home. I can guarantee you I'm going to get that scheduled to an appointment today. That's not cocky or arrogant. It's just understanding refined skill set and taking what someone is giving and understanding that there's some value that I can provide to this person. It's just how I get there. And that's
And
what we're going to talk about today is, were you about to say something?
yeah, I was. The thing that I hear you say, and what a lot of agents will read from that text message is I'm not ready. There, and though they hear that as no, what they actually said was yes.
Hmm.
They told you yes, they're buying. So you have to work within their time frame, and you've got to fill that sales pipeline. Guess what? When they're ready to buy, you're still going to be a real estate agent. Hopefully, you know. So anyway, I'd like to throw that in there. A lot of times we hear no because it's not the immediate gratification that we want right away. And so it's important to realize that that person said yes.
So to again just kind of set the stage for what we're doing is there's a level of confidence that I think anybody can develop, to make a sports analogy. I used to really, really, really be disgusted with Tom Brady. I thought he was very overrated and just was not on board with calling him the GOAT, whatever everybody wanted to call him. But you get enough repetitions doing something over and over again, you're going to get good at something. And so by the time he's like 37 or 38 years old, yes, he's a very effective quarterback, despite my feelings about him, because he's been through enough repetitions that he knows what to expect. So I do give him his credit now. But
Is
anyway,
he the
uh,
goat? But is he the goat, Michael?
no, he is not.
He can't do it. He still
No,
can't do it.
no.
Haters gonna
And
hate.
so what we're going to do is we're going to start it off from the very beginning. In this first call, and what we're doing this month is really getting into the nuts and bolts of having good, effective conversations to get you more appointments. And I can guarantee you that if you work on implementing these things in your personal life and your professional life and get the repetitions. And when I say getting the repetitions in your personal life, is I'm not here to be a family life counselor, relationship counselor in your personal life or anything like that. But I think when we self-analyze how we interact with those closest to us, where there's nothing on the line other than just your personal relationship, then you can afford to maybe try some things out and say like, hey, let me in that situation, instead of them trying to solve a problem or them telling me something and me saying, oh, that's crazy, like maybe ask another question or two so that you get better at repetitively asking questions. And so what I want us to do this month is focus on that. So today we're focusing on opening and framing conversations. And as we continue to go through the month, we're going to get into the things that most of the time real estate agents do want to focus on, which are things like overcoming objections, discovery, and how to find out what my client needs, and being relational, talking about next steps, and really putting a bow on it with something that we've been doing this past year that we think is having great effect, and that's the virtual appointment before you take any other steps. And so today, again, since we're starting off, we really want to talk about opening and framing conversations and really effectively doing that. Now, if you all can, do me a favor and go into the chat, because I want to make sure that we're being agile in who we're talking to. So if you work specific lead sources, whether it's your Sphere, whether it's web registration, whether it's any other source, Facebook, Zillow, whatever it is, please put that into the chat, because although these skills do translate lead source to lead source, You do have to kind of tweak or modify really how you're opening a conversation if there is I guess a script to it. I'm not a very scripted person. I'll never tell you to be scripted. I want to give you a framework for what I think is effective, but it's up to you to adjust based on the audience that you're talking to. I don't want to call a web registration lead and opening up the same way that I would if I were talking to maybe somebody that I was introduced to from a past client of mine. And so you have to adjust on that. But again, what we're going to talk about today are transformational skills that transcend any sort of lead source. So when you are putting yourself in a position where you're going to be interacting with someone and you are, however you want to describe it, selling yourself, selling your product, wanting to give some service, you have to think about the physiological factors at play here. If you're someone that likes to call a lot of people out of a database, or you're sitting at your desk and you want to make text messages, whatever it is, you have to think about how tone is picked up on the other side, not just in a call, but in a text message. You can hear tone in a text message. I generally send a lot of exclamation points when mine, because I'm energetic and I want to let you know that I'm energetic. I don't use exclamation points on every single statement in a text, but the things that I want to highlight that I think are necessary, I'm going to put those on there. But when we introduce ourselves to someone, it's critical that you clarify who you are, what you do, and what you expect to happen in this interaction. How many of you can tell me that when you talk to somebody, particularly for the first time, one of the first things that you say is, "Hey, how are you?"
Yeah, sure.
I think it's a pretty good amount of people that do that.
Yeah.
That is probably the worst thing that you can ever start with. And it's crazy to say that, because you talk to most people and most people would tell you that's exactly how they start a conversation. "Hey, how's it going?" The reason why we do that is no different than when we say and it's a stall, because we don't have anything else better to say. That's all it is. When you ask somebody how they're doing, it could backfire on you. Somebody could tell you, "Oh, I'm having a horrible day. Oh, family member just passed away. Oh, I just got into a car wreck." You're opening it up for that. And while we want to be sympathetic and empathetic to those things, it's not the reason why we're calling or reaching out. You want to be very direct and very specific, but not overbearing. And one of the things that I hear a lot of real estate agents do when they're particularly nervous talking to somebody is they'll jumble a bunch of questions up. So I'm giving you all some bad habits to create good habits. So I'll hear agents sometimes say, "Hey, I was just giving you a call because I saw that you were looking at some houses out in McKinney, and are you looking at a house in McKinney? Oh, by the way, there's a good market for 4-bedroom houses. Did you know there's new construction there?" All of a sudden, that person is checked out and does not want to talk to you. I wouldn't want to talk to you. So you have to be concise and very simple. And again, it needs to include who you are, your name, what you do, why are you calling them? Like, you don't want to just say, "Hey, I'm Mike, what's going on?" You're looking at some houses. No, you need to let them know who you are so that there's context there and there's some familiarity. And then lastly, you want to talk a little bit about what you want to get accomplished. There's an easier, more simplified way of doing all of that I do. And I'm going to recite it to you guys here in just a moment. But that agenda of what I want to get accomplished is going to particularly come in handy for your meetings. If I schedule a meeting with somebody, I want to let them know what we're going to go through. And so instead of saying, "Hey, hey Brent, how are you? I was notified that you were looking for some help, finding a house. Can you tell me a little bit about your search? And, have you talked to a lender and gotten a pre-approval? What's going on with you?" No, I want to be very simple and very concise. "Hey, Brent, this is Mike McCullough. I'm with X Real Estate Team. I'm giving you a call because I saw that you were looking at some homes on our site. I wanted to reach out and see what I could do to help you out." That is it. That is it. And it's so important that that lead in ends with an open-ended statement or question. If you ask somebody, "Hey, you looking to buy a house?" You're giving them an option to tell you no and opt out right there, because they don't want to talk to you. They don't care who you are. They don't know. They could be looking for a house. They could be pre-approved and ready to write an offer tomorrow. But if you give them a chance to say no like that, they're going to give you a no. So it needs to be open-ended. "Hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. What is it that you're looking to do?" What can I do to
So,
help you?
so Michael, clearly you're talking about in this instance, like a web registration lead, something like that, someone you've never spoken to before. How would you frame that when you're calling, say, your sphere? Let's say it's a past client. Say it's a past client.
Mhm.
So, how would you open that as a past client?
Yes. So I'm glad that you brought that up because that's exactly where I was going to go. So if I were calling a past client, ideally, it's not that I'm calling out of the blue, which we've talked about this as a team. If we're not calling as often and you have to remind them of who you are. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
John, it's Mike McCullough. I helped you buy a house a few years ago. I just wanted to check in with you and see how things are going. If you're communicating a little bit more consistently, then it's a lot easier to call them. Hey, John, it's Mike. Just wanted to reach out to you, see how things are going. How's the house?
So,
It's
so when you started that, and sorry, my phone's ringing. When you started that, it's a little interesting to me because I do something similar with my past clients. I will say, hey Mike, hey Michael, hey it's Brent, just calling to say what's up, man. You came across my mind. How the heck are you? Now I am doing that. How are you there? And that does give them the opportunity to say, man, I'm doing pretty crappy because I did that last week with someone and his mom had passed away on New Year's Day. But at the same time, I scheduled a call to call him back in 2 weeks, and it's someone I have not talked to in a couple years. But what are the odds that I saw a list of past clients on my CRM, and out of 100 that show up on that page, I picked him to call, and he's like, man, how are you? I was like, bro, don't worry about how I am. Like, get off the phone with me. He was on the other line with his sisters making funeral arrangements. And so you just don't know what someone's going through. But it is, to me, I'm a spiritual person. So I was like, man, I needed to call that guy. That guy, and that doesn't mean he needed to hear from me, but he needed someone to let him know that, hey, someone's thinking about you. And I do think this, again, a spiritual person and a religious person like myself, it's like I was meant to pick him out of the list, and that's just kind of cool in a way. But I certainly made a note to call him back in my CRM in 2 weeks. But at the same time, he certainly said, "Man, I'm doing pretty bad." But when you know the person, I feel like person that's fine. That's the purpose of it. You want to know what's going on with someone's life. You want to know when their son wins a baseball tournament or something like that, and you want to reach out to them. I think that those are the quick text messages and things like that. Because for us with past clients, you really need to be talking to them once a quarter. But you could probably get away if you have, let's say, so Omar, you said you're an independent agent. Um, let's say you have 100 people in your sphere that you talk to. You could call them every single quarter. You could get through that. That's not a big deal. So the way we look at it is we go, okay, there's 12 weeks in a quarter. Um, Divide that by 100. That's how many people I need to call a week. And you just give yourself somebody. You could write the names down on a note card. We use our CRM is Sierra Interactive. That's the one we just like. And when I hit log call on that person, they drop out of the list. They don't come back in the list until 90 days has gone by. So we want to make sure we're doing those touches at least once a quarter, but the text messages in between and all of that go a long way. I'm actually trying to utilize audio text a lot more because I will call, they won't answer, I'll leave a voicemail, then I'll send an audio text and just wishing somebody, hey, I hope you had a good Christmas, Happy New Year. And I'm getting a lot of responses back. Michael mentioned tone. I don't know. Everyone's got a different family dynamic. All of my siblings think my tone is like me being like smart aleck, and it's not. That was not my intention. I actually just had this conversation with my sister right a couple days after Christmas, and she's like, "Oh, I just thought that was your wife saying that, not really you." I'm like, "Well, that's dumb." Like, no, that was really me. That was really me saying that. So again, if it was an audio message, maybe the tone wouldn't be in there. You say the exclamation points and things like that. I actually feel like I have the reverse effect because my personality, I'm a very high D, high I in my disc profile. Man, I get to the point. I actually have to like talk to a counselor once a week to like help me soften things up. So that's who I am. I'm so direct, and it can come off in tone like not the best. But anyway, I kind of digress there. But I think my point is that conversation, that hi, how are you with your sphere, with your past clients, I think is fine. What do you think about that, Mike?
I don't think it's bad because you have a relationship with them. However, if you call someone that you haven't talked to in a long times, even somebody that you transacted with, and you call them, you say, "Hey, how are you?" Immediately, I can tell you immediately they're thinking, "What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you
So,
want?"
but see, I think that's a little different in someone that you have a closer relationship with versus, okay, here's a great example. I have a team. So there are past clients of the team that transacted with an agent who was not me, who is no longer with our team. So they may not even know who I am. So again, I do think framing, opening that conversation with, "Hey, it's Brent Germany. You bought a house with our team. Just calling to check in with you. See how's everything going with the house. How are you?" And see, they see, it's like it's so easy to go to the "How are you?" And I probably should have stopped with "How's everything going with the house?" and ended there. See, I'm learning
Agreed.
right now. This is good.
And see, the important thing is that you maintain consistency. So a number of you folks have written on here that you work your sphere quite a bit. If you don't have a tracking mechanism for how often you're calling them, so we have a CRM that we use, but I actually use a spreadsheet, and it's got a variety of columns, and I've got them categorized based on who's ready to contract right now, who's hot, who's warm, who's cold. But I have different columns for like price point and notes, like most recent interaction. And it's a consolidated view of all of those things. But the most important column in there is last attempt to contact. And to me, it's important, especially folks that may be looking at transacting within the next 30 days, that they're getting communication from me at least once a week, because the absolute worst thing that can happen is that you let somebody um, fall through the cracks. And so if you have past clients, I would definitely encourage you, if you're not already doing it, to consolidate that onto a spreadsheet and have columns for Q1, Q2, Q2, Q3, Q4, and maybe highlight those that are considered your VIPs, the folks that have referred you business, and in one column, maybe put in an annual budget that you have for them. So, for example, last year I gave everybody the same gift, which was the state of Texas cutting board. This year, I'm looking at Cutco and sending them things. And even the past clients that I have, maybe sending them stuff or just a letter or something like that. And also putting in notes like, "Hey, sent them this and sent them that." And so it's important that you have communication at least once a quarter so that they're not slipping through the cracks, because that visibility is important. I used to really, 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 really hate when real estate agents would post, "Oh, I transacted some house." But it's important that people know that you're still active and still doing it, because if you're not and they don't know and you're not communicating with them, then they don't know to go to you when they have a question. So that visibility is important. But I think when I say that there's a reason why you contact them, if you get a brand new lead that registers on a website or a Zillow or whatever, and you have a reason for calling them, you're trying to help them out with the process of finding or buying a house. With past clients, you think, what is a reason for me to call? I've already gotten one email from a past client that closed last year that sent me an email and says, "Hey, Mike, I was reaching out because he bought new construction. We've got we have got an inspector that we work with that for new construction specifically will go out there and do an initial third party inspection. And then at 11 months, we'll do a secondary inspection for free. That's a selling point for our clients. And he closed on his house last April. So he's asking when that needs to happen. And oh, by the way, guess what's going to happen to everybody that owns a home in Texas here within the next 3 months? They are going to get their tax assessments. So if you're looking for a reason to call in Q1 outside of like, what do I talk to this person about? What Brent's alluding to is, if you're just trying to maintain communication, you give somebody, a past client, a call. "Hey, Omar, it's Mike, just giving you a call, man. Wanted to check in, see how things are going with the house." Again, I'm telling you who I am. I'm reminding you of who I am. And there's a reason for the calling. I'm checking in on your house. However, if I had a specific reason, "Hey, Omar, it's Mike. I'm giving you a call because I know we're getting close to tax season. You're going to get your assessment here pretty soon. I just wanted to remind you that when that time comes, I'll be here to help you out through that whole process. How are things going with the house?" So you have a reason to sit there and have a substantive conversation. So when I say that, it's important to, again, remind them who you are, why you're reaching out, and what you hope to accomplish. That transcends different lead sources. If you got a Zillow, there's a specific way that you need to say, hey, it's Mike McCullough. I'm with this brokerage. I see that you're wanting to go see a house at 123 Main Street. When works best for you to get over there? Instead of like, hey, how are you? Because that'll stall that call immediately. And, let's just say it's a Dave Ramsey, or it's a HomeLight, or it's, whatever other lead source. Hey, I'm giving you a call because I work for this real estate team. We work with this team. So you know who I'm calling and why I'm calling. I wanted to reach out, introduce myself to you, and see what it is that I can help you with. And the technical scripted way of saying that would sound more something like, hey, Brent, this is Mike McCullough. I'm with ABC Realty. I'm giving you a call because you were looking at homes on our website. I wanted to reach out to you, talk a little bit about your goals, see what some of your opportunities are and what that looks like for you. And I'd really talk about your timeline and what next steps may look like. I think that that is effective if you are the type of person that can say that comfortably. Me, I like to keep it very simple and concise. Hey, it's me giving you a call because I wanted to check in and see what I could do for you. Now, that is just, again, on initial interactions with anybody that you're talking to. If you get an opportunity to have a substantive conversation, let's say any one of these folks that your past clients, they say, I would like to jump on a call and see how you would handle property tax assessments. I would like to get on a call and talk to you a little bit about the value of my home and what it looks like now that I've lived in it for 3 years. Great. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be very specific about when we're going to get on this interaction. We're going to do this afternoon at 5 o'clock. But when you get into that conversation, you want to, again, reiterate who you are and what you're doing and what you hope to accomplish. Hey, it's Mike. Does this time still work for you? Great. Awesome. Well, as I mentioned earlier today, what I want to get accomplished with you today is show you how I would approach tax assessment protests, what I've done in the past and what's worked out, and really kind of give you a head start on what that's going to look like for you in April. How does that sound? Great. Awesome. And so I know not everybody lives in Texas. This is how we kind of handle things. But if you can think about different things to talk about, because I know a lot of people are talking about Sphere, there's a way to cater that interaction. But again, at the core of it, who you are, where you're from, why you're calling, and what you hope to accomplish. It's that simple. Now, I want to pause there for just a second for questions, if any.
Well, if Omar or Linda, if you guys want to jump in, that's fine. I think that just a comment is being short and concise and getting to the point with online leads, and even someone you haven't talked to in a long time. Look, in a perfect world, all of our Sphere and all our past clients, we talk to them all the time, and we're just amazing at our jobs. Okay, so we wouldn't be on this call if we couldn't all sharpen our skills a little bit, and self-included. So it's just go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Brent.
Go ahead.
Hey,
Yeah.
of course, I'm Omar Jones. I'm a real estate agent, realtor, proud to say that, here in the state of Michigan, primarily focus on the Great Lakes Bay region. So that's Saginaw, Midland, Bay City, Mount Pleasant. And because I have a past history of living in Grand Blanc, I know the area pretty good. So
Awesome.
I do some services out that way, looking to expand into a lot of other areas in 2025. So I'm excited about that. I would say my strong point really is building rapport with individuals. And it can come in many different facets, right? Like based upon who that person is. Is this like a friend? Is this a friend of a friend? Like there's usually some type of gap that I know that I'm working in. And so I'm gonna tailor how I'm gonna communicate with that person based upon what that relationship is. So building those relationships are pretty, or building rapport and having those conversations, those kind of flow a lot more naturally. What I don't particularly like is like cold calling. And I know a lot of people have a lot of different feelings about cold calling. You know, I've listened to a number of philosophies about that. You know what I mean? Maybe somebody gives you like, hey, here's this list I used to work, some past clients I had, reach out to them and maybe you can get something out of it. And so then I think it's very important, kind of like what both of you have said, is just to get in there and just say, hey, really, I need to give you my value add immediately, right? Because I've done cold calling in other areas. I used to work in healthcare for a while, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that sucks. because there's a good chance that you're gonna get hung up on. People are gonna ask you like, "Who are
Yeah.
you? How do?" And one of the main things, especially right now in this time frame, a lot of people are concerned about security. How did you get my information?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you again? You know what I mean? So it's that trust. You got to break through that already pre-existing boundary that you want to respect, and also kind of that defensiveness that individual is going to have based upon like, wait a minute, who, what, why did Ryan give you my number? Huh?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so getting to that point, that's the part that kind of sucks. And you kind of got to really get in there. And it's like either they're going to be with you or they're not. You know what I mean? From my experience,
Yeah.
if you're going to get hung up on, they're going to tell you, no, not at this time, whatever, brush it off, move on, whatever the case may be. You know, so with those, it's trying to find, I guess my approaches have been trying to find that like, hey, not necessarily trying, am I going to approach this as a, hey, I'm not really trying to waste your time. I don't really want to give you an opportunity to tell me no. Let me just give you my value add pitch real quick. Hey, I'm Omar Jones. I'm a real estate agent here in Saginaw, Michigan. Received your information from Ryan. You worked with Ryan in the past. Ryan told me that you bought their past house about 3 or 4 years ago. Wanted to let you know that we're still here in the area. We're looking to work with you again. If you want to do something different with your current house, whatever the specs I have from however that last conversation went, I'm studying that to figure out like, what do I need to say to this person? Just say, hey, just want to give you a call, blah, 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 and I'm out. Or am I taking the approach of, I really want to get a conversation going with them and trying to convince them, okay, that, hey, you might want to either buy or sell your current house. You know what I mean? And so it's that, trying to find that fine line between making those, 100 or so cold calls. And it's like, I think I got maybe a little love out of about 5. You know what I mean? Because everybody else is pretty skeptical. Or they send you straight to voicemail. I know how that goes too. If I get a phone number that I'm not used to, you're going to talk to the voicemail first. I'll see what it is that you're looking for. And then after that, I might call you back based upon what it is that you're calling me for. So I understand. I'm human just like my clients or customers are. So that's kind of my input on it. Give me some feedback on what I just said. I'm open to whatever you all have to say.
Yeah. That's I know Michael's probably got a ton there. I'll add my 2 cents real quick. I don't think that you should go in with anything salesy. People with commission breath, people can smell that a mile away. So I think that when you talk about, there's a lot of things you said, and like out of 100 people, you got a little love from 5 of them. Well, that's actually a pretty good response for cold calling. And so what you're trying to do is nurture that, and you take those. There's a guy. Gosh, I'll have to put the video in the chat, but it's he owns some restaurants in, gosh, Michael, why am I blanking on his name right now? But he owns restaurants in Chicago. But he always says that they're always connecting dots or always collecting dots to always be connecting dots. And what'd you say?
Danny Meyer.
Danny Meyer. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll send that YouTube video, put it in the chat for you to watch. It's like 4 minutes, Omar, but he talks about how important it is, because what that initial conversation is, it's not to have a very lengthy conversation. It's to lead to another conversation, which leads to another conversation. Because when you're talking about someone who you have not talked to before, your objective truly is to try to build a relationship and not try to sell anything, because the sales will happen once you've built trust, because they're immediately going to have a wall up. Absolutely. What happens whenever someone calls you as someone who's in sales, and then a salesperson calls you? You're like, I don't want to talk to you. And then you say like, oh, 95 people hung up on me. Do you think those 95 people, were worried about hurting your feelings? No. So you shouldn't have your feelings hurt either. It's like, just move on to the next one. And how many times has this ever happened to anybody? It's happened to me for sure, where I've had someone who I finished transacting with, and man, they were just such a jerk the whole time. And then I was like, I don't ever want to call that person again. And then I forced myself to do it. They're like, oh, Brett, how the heck are you? And I'm like, whoa, who is this guy? And it ends up being like, that was just super stressful for them, and sometimes we got to be the punching bag. Sometimes that's our role, to be the punching bag. Sometimes it's our role to be the therapist. Sometimes it's our role to be the financial advisor. Sometimes it's our role to be the door opener. We don't know. But Michael, I'm going to hand it over to you, because Omar, thank you so much for that, because that really shows that that there are different facets of your business where you have a lot of comfort. And then there's one part that might make you a little bit uncomfortable. But I can tell you what my wife told me a long time ago is she worked with him um, uh, in at University of Phoenix is actually where you guys worked and enrollment. And she would say it's a muscle. You got to exercise it. You just got to keep practicing and keep practicing until it's second nature. So, Michael, go ahead. I know you got a lot there.
Yeah, one of the things, and you mentioned it earlier about talk to text. I think if you're calling and you're doing it from your cell phone, if you can get really comfortable with talk to text, it really helps. Because as you mentioned, I don't leave voicemails. I really don't, unless I'm trying to talk to somebody for the very first time. It's usually a call, and if they don't answer, I shoot a text. And I've gotten really good at talk to text, almost to the point that it's a hard time if I've been doing a lot of that, which I do throughout the day. Sometimes in my personal life, it will come off. And I know my wife gets so annoyed. It's like we'll be in a car and then I'll be trying to talk to her about something and I'll say, all right, can you do me a favor? And she'll be like, what? And I'll be like, all right, let's go, let's drive over here, period. But comma, and sometimes we'll interject some of the formatting of talk to text in my conversation. It almost sounds like an AI that's having a hard time, humanizing itself. And so, but it does help. I mean, I can't sit there and text over and over and over again. I just talk to it. But anyway, um, I do have a question for you, Omar. So these lists of folks that you get, what is the source of these? Like, where is this information coming from?
Oh, so they were someone else's past clients, previous clients.
Okay,
So,
so they have
of course, the
trained. They
conversation leading with that, like, or definitely making it known, like, this is how I got your information to kind of the word is eluding me at the moment, disarm the defense mechanism there to say, hey, this is how you got my information. You worked with Ryan to close on your house 6 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever the case may be. And then going from there. So that's pretty much the source of it when I get a
Is
list.
Ryan no longer in the business?
No, he's still in the business. Ryan is actually a coach of mine. So, you know,
so
Why are you calling his list?
well, as a good question, but at the same time, some of it was, I think, just to help me generate business as well.
Okay,
Reach out to some
cool.
of my past clients
Like a
and
nice coach.
maybe they had interest in it. So,
Awesome.
so you know, man, that it's good that you're getting an opportunity to call those folks because there is something there. When folks work online leads, which our team works a lot of those, I hear a lot of people refer to it as cold calling, and it makes me cringe because I think that anybody that at some point or another has raised their hand, which if you go onto a website and you register and you put your information in there, you are then agreeing to be open to having someone help you out, and you have a need for wanting to do it. And I don't take first responses, surface level responses as fact. So I'll call somebody. If I call somebody and say, oh, I was just kind of looking for fun, I think that's a lie. You're looking for a reason. I don't want to be over pushy with you or anything like that. I just want to help you. But I'm never going to get an opportunity to help you if I don't explain who I am and what my ultimate goal is here for you. And in that tone and how we approach all of that, first impressions are important. In the first 5 seconds, they say that when you meet somebody, they're going to know within the first 5 minutes if they're going to like you or not. We have such a shorter amount of time in our first impressions, and it's so important that we come off the right way. I'm not here to sell you on anything. I'm not here to annoy you with anything. I just want to help you out. And whenever somebody registers on a website or expresses some, desire to get help, even if they say that they're just kind of looking, well, that's fine. It's not my job to push on your timeline. I would like to get to know you a little bit better and what it is that I can do to help you out. And it's all about peeling back the layers of that onion and breaking barriers down to get somebody to trust you. Because again, what we are working against is that so many real estate agents out there repeat the same line of questions over and over again. Hey, this is John. I'm giving you a call because I wanted to sell you a house. Are you looking for 4 bedrooms? What's your price point? Where are you looking? This and that. And all we have got to do, all that we have got to do to exponentially increase our pipeline is just to be different. and not be different in a throwing off way. Like there was an agent that was on our team that apparently when people wouldn't talk to him, he'd send them a video of him lighting money on fire. You're wasting money and burning money, not talking to me. That's not going to get the point across. At the end of the day, people
The
just
true
want help.
story.
People just want help. And we should never feel bad about trying to reach out to people that have expressed a desire to help and raise their hand, because what's the worst that they're going to do if we push a little bit to help them out? Are they going to, I say this in all seriousness, but I have to kind of joke about it. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to try to fight you because you want to talk to them. I mean, that did happen apparently to one of our agents. Somebody came up to the office to try to fight him. I'm sure he said something that he shouldn't have, but regardless of source, if you have a friend that introduces you to somebody or gives you their information, same sort of thing, you give them a text or give them a call. Hey, it's Mike. Chris, gave me your information and said that you may be looking for help. I wanted to reach out and introduce myself to you and see what I could do to help you out. And it's very open-ended to lead into a discussion, and that part of the frame and that part of the introduction is leaving it open so that you don't give them a chance to answer yes or no. We'll get into questions and discovery next week, but you want to try to avoid, at least on that initial interaction, asking a lot of yes or no questions. And we'll talk about the psychology of certain questions. There's a book from Chris Voss called Never Split the Difference, where he talks about the power of asking a question that solicits a no in a positive way. And we'll get into all of that. But if you're talking to somebody for the first time, you're going to want to make sure that you're leaving things open-ended. Tell me more about that. Why is that important to you? How would that make you feel? How long has this been something you've been thinking of doing? Tell me a little bit about your journey. What's important to you? Tell me a little bit more about that. Those types of questions. And, Omar, you mentioned something that is quite interesting, and that is trying to essentially give your value pitch and your value add, kind of like your elevator pitch. And I would tell you that I think that if we try to sell someone on something that we feel like we're very good at, that may not be important to them. And what we want to try to do is get the answers to the test without answering first. It's like, if you can ask some questions, tell me a little bit about your journey, what it is that you're looking for. I've seen a lot of agents that default to, you should look at new construction because it's a really good value because they're giving you a lot of incentives and it's a brand new home. But what if somebody's not interested in new construction? What if someone actually likes the character of an older home? What if someone actually likes, an area where there's not a lot of new construction? It's like we're pushing people into something because we feel like that's what's important to them, and we're assuming, but we should never assume. So anytime we're interacting with someone, we want to give them, no matter how many times we've been through it, the opportunity to share with us what they're looking for and what's important. And if we approach that in our initial opening is just like, I'm a real estate agent. I know that we probably won't be talking like this if there wasn't a reason for us to be talking, but I do want to see what I can do to help you out. Tell me about it, and let's see what we can do together. And we'll talk about the scheduling of the appointment in a few weeks. But once you gather enough of that up, where your real value is catering your response to what they're giving you. Again, I say getting the answers to the test. If I, instead of trying to sell somebody on what I do really well, if I ask you a question or a series of questions that say, I'm looking for a real estate agent, ask that question. What are you looking for in a real estate agent? What's important to you? What experience do you have with this? How did that go? How did that make you feel? What would you do differently? Asking these questions. And once they tell you, then it's very easy to sit there and say, well, hey, I appreciate you sharing all this with me. I want to kind of recap what you said to me. You said to me that this was important. You've been looking for this amount of time, and this is what you hope to accomplish. I think the best step from here is for us to set up a virtual call or some sort of next step where we can address all of these things and dangle a carrot, if you will, to say, I need you to continue to interact with me to get the help that you're looking for. But it all starts, again, with how we open it and the tone that we set. And, you mentioned working with someone else's past clients, and you said that you might call somebody that transacted with them 6 years ago. Man, think about all of the things that could happen to somebody's house in 6 years. I mean, I've got people that closed last year that have already had to replace the roof. Somebody had plumbing issues. They don't know how to fight their property taxes. They don't know how to file their homestead exemption, which is a thing here in Texas. Heck, I mean, you're in Michigan. The Tigers are looking at picking up Alex Bregman potentially. The Lions are doing amazing right now. They have a bye. There's so many different things that you could call and talk to them about. But if there's a reason why you're calling someone that transacted with someone a few years ago, what I would probably tell you is to say, hey, this is Omar. I'm giving you a call because Ryan helped you buy your house 6 years ago. I am his right hand and I work with him and wanted to reach out and introduce myself to you, check in and see how things are going with the house. And they say, oh, things are going fine. Great. You bought your house 6 years ago. Can you tell me a little bit about that journey and what's happened since then?
That's
And
good.
open it up, because then again, they could tell you like, oh, this and that. And a lot of those people probably have sold, because maybe family issues or moving or upgrading or something like that. Oh, wow. Tell me a little bit more about that. So you can have a really good conversation. I think the group of people that you're calling and you're talking to, it will be very easy for you to have 30, 45-minute conversations with a lot of those people. So if you're having 5 out of 100, I would agree with Brent. That's going to be a good conversion ratio for you. And just don't get discouraged if a lot of people aren't answering. Just again, get good at video or audio to text, and just shoot them a text. Hey, it's Omar. Ryan helped you buy your house 5 or 6 years ago. I wanted to reach out and introduce myself to you. This is my role. Wanted to check in and see how things are going with the house.
Can I
And
say,
just
because
leave it.
I want to make
Yeah.
sure we only got a couple minutes left. Could
Yep.
he tweak that and say, Ryan wanted me to give you a call?
Yes, absolutely. There's a reason why. Yes, absolutely.
There's your connection. Wait, why did he get? No, Ryan wanted me to give you a call. How's everything going with the house? Simple, straight and simple. And I will also say, people's attention spans with the rise of technology has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter. Getting to the point so fast is an important thing. And I think we all, as real estate agents, struggle to do that. Look at the first 20 minutes of this call. We were just doing the hi, how are yous at the first 20 minutes. And we got in the meat and potatoes of this thing after 20 minutes. So we have a tendency to get on our soapboxes and talk a little too much. So we are out of time. That's it for today. Omar, Linda, just so you know, we are working on getting these things posted to a YouTube channel too, so you can go back and reference it. But these are going to be every single Thursday. They're for anybody. If you think anybody needs help, this is nothing we charge with. This is not just a real brokerage thing. We are with Real as well. But we want to just, agents need to get back to each other, and we need to keep sharpening our skills because there's a lot of negativity when it comes to real estate agents, thanks to some lawsuits. So let's get out there and keep kicking butt and have a great year. We got some snow here, Omar, right now, about 3 inches today. So I'm sure that's nothing for you.
Poor things. No, but
I don't know if you're
different structure
don't know
down
if-
there. You all don't have the same infrastructure as far as like with salt and trucks and stuff like that. Where it's
Not
different.
really.
Like it could be a foot of snow here, and it's like, well, this is as usual.
I was with some Michigan people 2 days ago, and I told them they were like 2 inches of snow. It's like we can still find our golf ball. Like we're good.
No, I get it. I understand. I'll send you all. If you do LinkedIn, I'll find you all on LinkedIn, and let's connect and continue the conversation that way, as well as connecting on the Real Brokers platform. So
That's awesome, man. All right, thanks everybody. That's it for today. Y'all have a great rest of your week and safe weekend.
All right, peace and love. Take care.
See ya.
Bye, guys. Thank you.